Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, as we're going to try to do our best to recap all the things that happened over the sports weekend. Not only are we going to do a little best and worst of the weekend presented by our guy Logan, but we're also going to get into your SEC update, look around the weekend recap when it comes to BetSaracen and all the specials, talk Razorback baseball, some Razorback basketball, and get to your chats as well as your phone calls. If you want in on the conversation, call in at 478-344-6623. But fellas, how we feeling on a Monday, post-Monday, from an absolutely abysmal basketball showing, but a decent baseball showing? How we feeling right now?
Well, I had a terrible weekend on a personal front. The team that I cover had an historically bad performance. I'm not letting it get me down. It's March. Like, nobody is going to take away my happiness in the month of March, man. This is like Christmas time for a college basketball junkie. So I'm good. I've bounced back. I've burned the tape like Coach Cal told us to do. And I've been on a heater. We're 2 episodes deep today already for the Pot at the Palace. We're ready to rock and roll, man.
Yeah, the good thing about sports is you always get to get back on that horse. You always get to go right back to that roulette table and spin the chambers one more time. And that's what this Arkansas basketball team gets to do. And so, as annoying as Saturday was, as deflating as it was, as disappointing as it was, all of these things are very accurate. It doesn't take away from what Arkansas's ultimate goal is, which is to sneak in the NCAA tournament by the skin of their teeth, which is what they still have a chance to do. And so, you just get right back up. You try and see if they can make it happen here this week. And the big misconception is that they've got to do something crazy. Just mess around and win one game this week. That's really all you're probably going to have to do. And we'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, well, and it's going to be a weird one this week, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow, because I feel like tomorrow Arkansas goes on the road to Vanderbilt. We know that that's a 9 p.m. Central Time game, because we've been talking about how weird it is. But also, I feel like it's one of the first Tuesday games Arkansas's had in the SEC. I feel like it's all been Wednesday games. And this is just a random Tuesday 9 p.m. Why not? Such a random time.
Great timing when you have no fuel left in the tank. Let's shorten that recovery period by one day, right? But I'm thankful for it in this case. It's kind of the opposite of what we had last week. Like, you played real late on Wednesday and then real early on Saturday. Well, you basically had all of Saturday to kind of recover. And now you're going to have all of Tuesday built in. It's almost like you got a full extra day. And thank God for that. And Vandy also had like the big emotional game, the physical game. They go to overtime and get that one there. So from that standpoint, I guess a couple things are playing in Arkansas's favor, and they definitely need it right now.
Well, and then on the other end of it, on Saturday, you will have an extra day, because Arkansas is used to playing at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Now 9 p.m. on Tuesday. It's not going to be fun traveling in the middle of the night. They'll get back to Fayetteville at like 4 a.m. But then you get pretty much all day Wednesday, skip class, sleep in, do what you got to do. And then you should be rested and fueled up for the final home game of the year. And hopefully by that point, Arkansas won't still be like desperately needing a win. But regardless, it's put up or shut up time for this team. This is a big week, man.
Yep, it absolutely is. And it was one of those things where you're hoping, when going into that South Carolina game, you're like, hey, worst team in the SEC on the road. What could go wrong? Well, everything did. We don't have to revisit it, because I don't want to be that miserable. Even it was as bad enough watching it. I think it's like 20 times worse to try to relive it once again. But you burn the tape in the
last 48 hours, John.
Yeah, it's just like you got to just move on. Everybody wants to move on from that nonsense. But you're now in a position, as you mentioned, where it's kind of like put up or shut up. You got right now, I think on CBS Sports, you're listed as an 11 seed out of a play-in game going up against Boise State up in Dayton, which would be electric. So you have that. You have other places, of course, that are going to be updating throughout the week, or maybe even today when it comes to the NCAA tournament chances. But, it's just one of those things where with this team, it's been that way all year long, the unpredictability of them. And also, I've always looked at games like, oh, how do you match up? Do you match up well against them? I don't even know if that's a thing anymore for Arkansas. It's like, it doesn't matter if the other team's more physical, or if they're more finesse, or if they're better offensively, or if they're better defensively, or if they're more about getting points in the paint, or if they're more about the outside shot. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just I never know. You never know what to expect out of this team. You never know what you're going to get out of them. And with this week, with Vanderbilt on the road tomorrow, and then ending the season with Mississippi State at home, they could go 2-0. Absolutely, they could. They could go 0-2. Nothing would surprise me in this week, and especially with the way they play. And that's where it's fun, but also frustrating with this team, never knowing what you're going to get game in and game out.
This is what you get on the bubble, man. It's like every fan base that's in these same conversations at Arkansas, they're doing the same thing where it's like the mental gymnastics of trying to figure out what your team is. And the answer in almost every case is very inconsistent. And the highs are high and the lows are low. And then there's a lot of mid right in between, man. That's just kind of the way it works. And yeah, it's frustrating because Arkansas had built themselves some nice cushion. I really felt like they were in a position to where you win that game against South Carolina where things were trending. And I think they were in. I think that was it. Honestly, at that point, they would have been up there in 8-9 game conversations today. You lose. It's not the end of the world, but they really did get dinged for it. Like as bad as it looked, it was that bad in terms of the metrics, and it really set them back. Kind of negated a lot of work that they had done to get back into that good spot. But yeah, you look up and Arkansas is still in pretty much every projected bracket. They're just right back in that last 4 in kind of territory. 85 brackets updated. Since Saturday on the bracket matrix. Arkansas is in 82 of them, but you're not safe, right? Like you have to win to keep yourself in there. And that's going to be the question, is if they're going to be able to bounce back. And here's what I'll say to everybody who's kind of naysaying it here. Every single time that we have written this team off, they've made us all look like idiots. They struggled with all their high majors early in the year, and then they go pop the best one, Michigan, at Madison Square Garden. Like they go 0-5 to start SEC play. You lose Boogie Flan, and then you beat Georgia when nobody thought you would. Well, then it's like, oh, that was probably a one-off because then you lose to Oklahoma at home. No, it's fine. We'll just beat Kentucky and Texas on the road. And you have those close losses against these top 10 teams, like over and over and over. And you feel like, man, they're eventually going to let go of the rope. No. We'll just go ahead and beat Missouri. Oh, well, now you're going to have to do it without Adou Thiero. It's fine. Well, we'll go ahead and beat Texas in an overtime game. Every single time they've given us a reason to finally be like, screw it. They're done. We're done. We're out of here. They figured something out. So I would imagine whether it's Tuesday or Saturday, they're probably going to rally back and shut a lot of people up once again. Would not surprise me at all if that happened.
Would certainly love for that to be the case. What we've also seen throughout the year is pretty much everybody that comments on the show, pretty much everyone we talk to is very confident one way or the other, or either it's no chance Arkansas makes the NCAA tournament or they're 100% going to make the NCAA tournament. Like we never talked to any people who were like, hey, I don't know. It's going to be close. We'll see how it plays out, which is kind of what we've been saying the whole time. And it's kind of poetic that before the SEC basketball schedule or before the conference season started, Curtis ran the numbers and was like, I think 7-11 would probably get Arkansas in. 8-10 would definitely get them in. And now here we are with 2 games left in the schedule. We're right there in that same spot where 6-12 would have Arkansas on the outside looking in. 7-11 would have them right there on the edge where they're maybe in. And then 8-10, of course, they go 2-0 this week. No doubt about it. Arkansas would be right back to where they were a few days ago, which is definitely in. And so it's kind of funny how precisely it's played out to where it's just all like there's not really a ton of questions to answer because it's going to be determined by what they do in these 2 games. If Arkansas splits, they're in a good spot but aren't going to be super comfortable. They go 0-2, they need to ball out in Nashville. And if they go 2-0, you're sitting pretty. It's that simple. There's not really any we can talk about all the metrics and all the numbers, but it really is that simple for Arkansas, which for most bubble teams, Curtis, like you mentioned, there's a lot of teams kind of going through this. A lot of these other bubble teams are kind of at the mercy of the committee, at the mercy of how the metrics are going to play out. For Arkansas, it's like they control their destiny in a pretty unique way here, where I really think you just got to beat one of these projected tournament teams and you're in a good spot.
Yeah, it's shameless plug here. Just go listen to the Pod at the Palace from today. Go listen to both of them. And because there's a ton of information there. I'm going to answer any questions that come through today, and I'm happy to talk about it. But if you want detailed, in-depth stuff as it pertains to all this, just go listen. Like there's a lot of good information in there. But what I will say is if you're in a situation where a lot of people are still putting Oklahoma in this NCAA tournament field, 4-12 Oklahoma in the NCAA tournament field, they are begging to find teams to put in this thing, man. That's just kind of where you're at. And a lot of people, after Saturday, and it's fair, to do Arkansas doesn't deserve to be in the tournament thing. Maybe they don't, but that's not the question. It's, do you deserve to be in over some of these other teams? And I look at Arkansas right now and I see them in competition with North Carolina, that's 1-10 in quad 1 games, and Xavier, that's 1-9, and Cincinnati, that's 1-10. Like, a lot of these teams have zero meat on the bone when it comes to quality wins like Arkansas does. And then you talk about like Villanova, like another team on the bubble. Arkansas lost in Columbia to South Carolina. Villanova lost to Columbia, the Ivy League team. All right. So there are levels to this, man. You want to talk about at South Carolina being a bad loss? How about a quad 4 to an Ivy League school? You know what I mean? So a lot of these teams would love to trade positions with you right now, and they have more work to do than you do, although the job's not finished. Arkansas, not in the spot that they want to be in after Saturday. It could be a heck of a lot worse.
Well, and that's the thing of people who get pretty upset with the way that the game went. I get it, and saying that you're not deserving of it, that's fine. That's whatever. But it goes back to what we talked about. I think it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever. Like, you, for the first time, Razorback fans, for the first time, probably in a long time, you have a benefit. You have a benefit of a doubt because you have John Calipari as your head coach. People want you and want him to be in the tournament. They are going to try and do everything they can within reason to get you in there. You just can't give them a reason where they're just like, we can't even justify putting you in. Like, you just can't do that. They are setting you up to where if you're a bubble team, if it's a 50-50 shot, something like that, you're going to get that benefit. I don't care what anybody says, you're getting that benefit, and you've never had that before. Now it's just a matter of doing enough to keep the benefit to where if you lose these next 2 games, you're like, listen, guys, we tried. You failed us. We can't put you in the tournament. We wanted you to. We really did. We didn't want Oklahoma. We just did that because we wanted you. And, you lost to Oklahoma. So, we can't do this. Like, that's what they're trying to do. So just do that. Just do enough to get that benefit, and you'll be in. You'll be fine. But don't give them a reason to where it's so stupid to even put you in there. Some people are saying it's stupid to put you in there now, but they're going to get you in if you just take care of business, win one of these games, maybe even 2. Guys, maybe they win both these games and then they just forfeit the SEC tournament. I'd be okay with that. Just not even go. Don't even show up to Nashville.
And I will tell you this, is I do think that Arkansas added a win needed onto the docket, like, to move forward. If you run every simulation, splitting here this last week in the regular season has Arkansas comfortably in. But if you extend it out then and you have them taking a loss in the first round of the SEC tournament to Oklahoma or Texas, they're going to play one of those 2 teams in the first round. You lose, you're out, and it's not even close. And that's the variance that it's showing. And that's just torque. That's just like one of the 7 metrics that they use or whatever. So who knows? A lot of factors would probably play in there, but I'm of the opinion that if you split this week and win on Wednesday sadness in the SEC tournament, you're in and you're a lock. If not, you're going to be really sweating it out.
Yeah, and I definitely think, I see this question here from John. He says, could we win the next 2 and half-ass the first tournament game to get some rest? If Arkansas does somehow band together and win both games this week, like you said, John, they should forfeit the SEC tournament. Then you'd be sitting pretty, because I agree, Curtis. I think 1-1 with a Wednesday night sadness win, who knows what everyone else is going to do, but it does, based on all the information we have, seems like that would be enough. You win both of these games, Arkansas would be clinched in the tournament. I would literally kick back and relax. Jaden Carlisle would play 29 minutes in that tournament game.
Yeah. And, people may look at it a certain way, but I'd be all for it, because it's not doing it because of load management or anything. It's doing it because you don't have depth. Everyone knows you don't have depth. You're not healthy. You're trying to get there. So, if you pulled it out, that would be one of the first times I think in my life where I'm like, I don't want to play. It's fine. Just we'll see you in Dayton or wherever. I'd just be fine with it. But in fact, that's a good segue for our Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by Alumni Hall. We're going to be there Friday, folks, doing Inside Arkansas Live this Friday, starting at noon. So come out, hang out with us, 3417 North College Avenue. You can also shop them online at InsideArkansas.com/Alumni Hall. And if you use promo code HOGSBY20, you get 20% off your purchase. So we appreciate their partnership. But come out and hang out with us on Friday. Get ready for the Razorback weekend. as we'll be doing Inside Arkansas Live from Alumni Hall right there at noon. And it was a very simple question, kind of what we talked about with this week. What do you think Arkansas does this week in as far as their record goes between on the road at Vanderbilt as well as at home at Mississippi State? And right now, 43% of you say they go 1-1, where they lose to Vanderbilt, but they beat Mississippi State. 31.5% says 0-2 in barbecue. They say that they go 0 for this weekend. And then 20% say 2-0, going undefeated this week.
It's crazy how one game can flip a narrative, man. I think they're going 1-1. I think they're going to beat Mississippi State. I do
too.
So if they beat Vanderbilt, then I would automatically say they're going 2-0. Like I think regardless, I think they're going to win that game at home on Saturday. Vandy's going to be tough on the road. Like we'll see what that looks like. But at the same time, like Arkansas has played very well against much better teams, outside of Bud Walton Arena this season. You just kind of have that sting from South Carolina that's stuck with you a little bit. We'll know right away. If they have their legs under them, it's crazy. Here's what I did is I pulled up the Vanderbilt game, the South Carolina game and the Texas game from a few days earlier on my split screens here. And I just hit play on both of them. And you would have thought that I had the Texas game on like double speed. Like I accidentally hit fast forward. Arkansas Saturday, and it's not an excuse, but it's true. Like they were 2 steps slower on defense. They were a step and a half slower on offense. They weren't moving. It was stagnant. It was slow. It was lazy. It was weak. Comparatively speaking, it looked like 2 entirely different teams. It's like they had concrete blocks attached to their feet, man. It was absolutely crazy, the difference between the 2 games.
Yeah, I'm also leaning towards them beating Mississippi State. Especially if I'm having to choose between the 2. I think both are going to be tough games, but for all the obvious reasons where Vanderbilt, I'm sure they will play better than they played on Saturday. God, I freaking hope so. I can't imagine they play worse than that. So you'd imagine they'll look a little bit better, but I don't know if they're going to have enough juice to really get up and beat a good Vanderbilt team, which is just not a gimme anymore. Like they're just not a team that will make it easy on you. I think having that extra day to get ready for the Mississippi State game, being back at home, at that point, the real desperation will have set in. If Arkansas loses to Vandy, I'm sure we'll start to see some tournament projections that have Arkansas on the outside looking in. I'm sure some other bubble team's going to win. I'm sure there will be, we got some conference tournaments going on this week. I'm sure we'll get a couple bids stolen. So I think by the time that game rolls around Saturday, the anxiety will be at an all-time high, the tension, but also the desperation for this Razorback basketball team. And it's just one of those, it's like we say it all the time, where if you can't get up for this game, you can't get up for any game. If you have a home game against are they still ranked right now, Mississippi State?
Yep.
No, but they're definitely. Are they still in?
Well,
Are they ranked?
Okay, sorry. No, I was looking at this. I'll update you, but no, I don't think they are. But
okay.
I'm saying they're like.
We'll find out here in a few minutes or whatever. But against a team that's in the NCAA tournament, against a team that is kind of at a comparable stage as a program, it's like this is a win and you get in situation. I think if Arkansas can't get up for that game Saturday after the ass kicking they took on this past Saturday, and potentially I'm assuming for a loss on Tuesday. If they can't get up for that game Saturday, then I think you just, again, it comes back to you didn't deserve to be in the tournament, frankly. And so I would lean toward them losing to Vanderbilt in a closer, hard-fought battle and then winning Saturday.
By the way, Mississippi State is still in the top 25. They are 25th. Exactly.
They love being in that range, like you said, 20 to 25.
The entire season, they've just stayed in that one spot. It's pretty incredible. But you got to take care of business. Honestly, guys, what my vote is? Arkansas is going to beat Vanderbilt, but they're going to lose to Mississippi State because that's what this team does. They just do weird stuff.
They absolutely do weird stuff. And here's the thing: it's a late game on Arkansas loves playing at freaking midnight.
They love it.
It's an 11 a.m. game or whatever on Saturday, and they love to not show up for those. So you might be onto something there, man. Vanderbilt has beaten Kentucky, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Missouri in Memorial Gymnasium. Mm-hmm. So they've got a lot of really good wins in that gym, but they also just had that huge overtime win and they locked themselves into an NCAA tournament bid Saturday. So I wonder if they're a little fat and happy after that. I hope they are.
Me too.
I mean, that's what Arkansas was Saturday.
Yeah, me too. By the way, if we're playing this game, Arkansas is taking on the 27th ranked Vanderbilt Commodores. tomorrow
good.
night. Yeah, because
Okay.
they're the second receiving votes there. But still a lot of work to do for Arkansas, and it doesn't get any easier for them. But let's get to some of your chats, folks, and again we'll get to your phone calls too. But glad our guy Trey coming in. He apparently
I love coaching this team.
still loves this team. Still loves this team. I don't know.
Stay on board, man. Last year was such a bummer because by this point there was just no chance at all. And I hate that, man. March Madness is so fun. So like, it would be cool if Arkansas was doing what they were supposed to do and in top 5 seed range and everything, but you're still in the very much alive in the conversations. You're still in a lot of the projections. As frustrating as this team is, I just encourage you to try to enjoy it, man. Like, there's really no better time of year than this. And it's going to be very stressful, but I'm excited. I'm not giving up.
Nope. It's we can't give up, because I've refused to have Arkansas miss the NCAA tournament 2 years in a row. I got spoiled. Okay, we all got spoiled. I mean, you had 3 straight trips. You won a bunch of games. I don't want to go back to that John Pelfrey, early Mike Anderson days anymore. I don't want it. It's tournament every year, and I don't care if you're the 68th team. I want to be in the tournament every single year. Also, shout out to our guy Trey, says just burn the tape, talking about the South Carolina game. So
it's already burned. Yeah. We already had a bonfire on Sunday. We're good.
Yep.
Yeah, the tape was burned. The uniforms were burned. Everything associated with that was burned. It's out of here, man.
Yep. It is in the atmosphere now. Like, it's just it's vapor. There's no way that we can get rid of it more than what we did. But also shout out to our guy Quinn. Appreciate the super chat, Quinn. He says, do y'all think after the performance Saturday that if it was a fatigue issue, do y'all think you can actually bounce back these last 2 games?
I think. I mean, some of it definitely was a fatigue issue. It's hard to say that it wasn't. Again, it's not an excuse. It's just true. I would be better served to believe there could be a bounce back on Saturday than I would tomorrow night. But you never know. So.
Yeah, it's like, if it was a fatigue issue, are you going to be that much more refreshed on Tuesday in the middle of the night? Although, did we ever get an answer on the travel on if they're coming? Did they come back to Fayetteville?
I have no idea.
Because I think that's actually a weird kind of factor where I know Saturday to Tuesday is a pretty quick turnaround, but if you're staying in the East Coast and you're not taking a bunch of flights across time zones, I think that would probably help you a little bit. But again, I do agree that I don't think they can win. Like, I think it would be a lot to ask this team to really show up and be great and win both of these games. But I think if there's a game they'll be refreshed and, re-energized, it would be Saturday at home, right?
Yeah, I think so. But the travel stuff is always just fascinating to me, because it's something that I know it exists, and I always known it exists, but really until Muss came in and was talking about quick turnarounds, I've started thinking about it so much more over the past few years of like, which is weird because it's not like anything's changed, like it's been this way in the SEC where every game's been on Wednesdays and Saturdays or sometimes Tuesdays. Obviously the 9 p.m. stuff is a little bit new, but it's always been there, but I feel like it's more discussed and put into a factor more so than was been in previous years.
Chat's saying they got back to Fayetteville. So,
well, there you go.
And traveling to Nashville is not nearly as bad as traveling to Columbia.
Yeah, easy enough. They'll fly out today
and also our guy Trey, once again, appreciate you, Trey, says, my thing with people hopping off the boat, where else am I supposed to go? I'm Hog fans till I die. See, that's the thing is, what else can you do? Because I think someone in the chat put it up there earlier, but it's going to happen. The second that they beat Vanderbilt tomorrow, if they did, Pot at the Palace post game is going to be popping. Everyone's going to be, man, what a job by Cal to get these guys, burning that tape and getting after it. Everything. It's just going to be that, and then they're going to lose to Mississippi State. Like, dude, what the crap? Like, well, this team sucks. We don't deserve it. I mean, it has been. I don't think, you guys can maybe correct me on this, I can't remember a time in any sports season of any time where there has been more highs and lows. I'm not talking about the highs, and I'm talking about that all the time, and it's just absurd. Never seen anything like it.
The swings are crazy, absolutely crazy, man. If you're not bipolar, it'll make you that way.
Yeah, I mean, because like the Muss teams had some roller coasters there, but it was really like 2 bad weeks in December, January, and then they would rattle off like 2 months of like, it wasn't really like back and forth. This is back and forth, snip snap, snip snap.
Yeah.
That's an Office reference, right?
Yeah, very much.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was.
Do you have any idea the toll? that 4 vasectomies can take on a man.
Yes. Oh man. Okay, so I want to throw this out because this has also been in the chat too, and we'll just address it. The latest on Adou Thiero. That's what everybody's wanting to know. What is the latest on Adou Thiero?
There's report or speculative report or something like I'm not sure that they tore his meniscus and he's out for the season. But here's my thought on that, because like I don't know for certain what's going on here, but something sketchy feels like it's afoot. I mean, can we just agree on that? Like, we can speak transparently here, but let's just go through the timeline real quick. I know we don't want to take too much time on this, but Adou has just kind of the weird moment where he hurts himself against Missouri. Like it looked pretty unassuming. It didn't look like that huge of a deal, but the body's weird, right? And he's moving around. They're checking his, the back of his knee, and like look like they're trying to massage a cramp, whatever. And we're waiting to see what's going on. John Calipari tells us it's a back. And then a couple days later, we get the release that says, no, he hyperextended his knee. It's not surgical, but no timetable on a return. And then the broadcast says, oh, yeah, actually he's out in LA and he's getting a second opinion. And it's been cricket since then. And then, somebody heard from source or whatever, that all of a sudden it's a meniscus and he's out for the year, but nowhere else is reporting that. And so I guess one of a few things happened here, right? Either that report information, like a bad source or whatever, and it's inaccurate. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. Or the flip side is it could be the U of A medical staff having zero clue what they're doing whatsoever, because those are two very different things, a hyperextension and a torn meniscus, two completely different things. And any standard imaging that you would get on a knee would reveal a meniscus tear. It just would. So either they don't know what they're doing, or they intentionally put out a false report, which I think calls into question what you can trust and how they view the fan base, if they're just putting out a bunch of negative info, or this other, rumored report or whatever isn't accurate. I mean, it's one of the three, right? It has to be. And I don't know what the best answer there is. I really don't, but it's just been a weird deal. And like, on one hand, we appreciate the transparency, comparatively speaking, from Cal and his staff to Muss. And it's not like anytime you ask about an injury, they don't tell you, I haven't seen him, I don't know what the latest is or whatever. But then they put out these actual releases with info. We never got that with Muss, man. So on one hand, it's cool, but now we're getting all this contradictory stuff, and it's just so vague. And I think part of it might be strategic, because if the selection committee knows that you don't have Adou Thiero, it's not supposed to, but it's hard not to look at that and have it impact your, seating and decision making a little bit. So maybe it's that, and then the cat was not supposed to be let out of the bag, and somebody's trying to do that in a self-serving manner. I don't know, but the whole thing is just weird. It's just weird.
That's a very interesting point you bring up there at the end, where if it is true that Adou Thiero tore his meniscus, I would see why the team would not want that to get out, why they would want to keep it speculative, because then you could on Selection Sunday be like, well, will we have Adou? Will we not? To Adou or to not Adou? You could kind of play that game, but if it comes out that he tore his meniscus, it would be a lot easier for the committee to kind of dismiss Arkansas. So that's an interesting point that I hadn't thought of. I also think it's interesting how you point out that any MRI you do, or whatever screening you do, whenever they diagnose the hyperextension, would have almost certainly, like, it would be hard to believe they would just miss a meniscus tear, right?
Yes.
So like on paper, you think of like, okay, well, he's, he got diagnosed with a hyperextension. Now he's going to LA to get a second opinion. And now that second opinion is he tore his meniscus. Sounds good in theory, but it's like, how would that have slipped through the cracks? And why would to your point, why would the U of A have put out a diagnosis that was so far off? Obviously they may have just gotten it wrong, but to say that it sounds a little sketchy is definitely, I'd say, like, an understatement. Like it's definitely interesting. And so we'll see if we ever get any word on this, but all in all, ain't no way in hell the dude's playing tomorrow night.
No.
That's one thing we do know is he's not playing tomorrow night.
Yeah. I was texting a buddy earlier, and I said the funniest thing in the world would be if the availability report that comes out tonight around 7, if it came out and he was on there and he was listed as like doubtful or questionable or something instead of just outright out. That would be hilarious if it wound up happening. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be out.
Yeah.
They're smart. If he really did tear his meniscus, list him as doubtful for the SEC tournament. That's what you should do. Because then you can kind of be like, well, maybe he's coming back for the NCAAs and might get Arkansas in there.
Right. Just always list him as a game time decision, no matter what, like whatever it is. Do it that way. But no,
shit.
Yes, exactly. And to what you said, Curtis, this is the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not in the medical field. I let more important and smarter people handle that. But to me, it's about the most important thing that you can have in any sort of like relationship, whatever it is, not to get too deep on it, is trust. And it's the most important thing, but it's also the hardest thing to get back if it's ever lost. And whether it's basketball or just really in this case, the whole athletic department in general, when it comes to injuries, there have been far too many weird things that have happened over the past few years dealing with injuries of stuff that's inconsistent, stuff that's not true, stuff that gets contradicted by the player themselves, all of this stuff. And if this was a one-off thing and there hasn't been any reason to doubt it, then okay, like people throw theories around, whatever, but there's just been way too many instances of the athletic department and how they've dealt with injuries that have added to inconsistencies. And it's almost like I don't trust anything. And I hate that because it's something as so important as injuries and something as, crucial as getting everybody healthy. You want everyone to be healthy, but it's frustrating where no matter what it is, I'm casting doubts. And I don't want to be that way. I don't want to assume that, it's actually not a knee, it's a back or whatever. But whether it's in football with the plethora of stuff that happened with Sam Pittman and injuries, whether it's in this case in basketball, I'm just like, I don't trust anything. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust any reports. It just sucks. And I hate that. I don't know why we had to get to this point. I don't know why people had to handle if it's gamesmanship, whatever. But I just hate the fact that I don't trust anything when it comes to injuries with Razorback athletics. It sucks.
Yeah, man. And like I see Sam in the chat and he says, almost like we're a hockey team reporting injuries. They do the thing where it's like he's out with a lower body injury or he's out with an upper body injury. Like, what do you mean? A rib, a shoulder, an elbow, a concussion? Like, what does that mean? It just leaves so much up to interpretation. It's very vague. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The whole thing is crazy. If you were going to just try to be purposely deceitful or just like lead on the selection committee or whatever, like to one of our last points there, you just got to be real careful about putting out a false diagnosis. I don't know, man. That seems like a choice, or just not say anything at all. Like we would have all been up in arms about it, but had they not put out that, kind of detailed statement, then we wouldn't even be really having this conversation. The same stuff would have been happening where, I was being told that it was an ACL. And then other people were telling me, oh no, it's actually an MCL. Well, the truth is nobody really knows. Maybe they do now, but it is a weird deal. And like I see David in here, he says it's easy to miss a meniscus tear on an MRI. Listen, I'm not saying that it's never happened or anything like that. I'm just telling you an MRI is the gold standard test to diagnose a meniscus. I mean, that's what you do to identify it. So it's rare. It's not easy to miss. I'm not saying it never happens or that it didn't happen in this case. I'm just telling you it's the gold standard.
Well, and it's like that's why you do the MRI, is to look for that certain stuff. It's one thing if it was just an unknown injury that popped up and nobody, but it's like they did the MRI looking for that exact thing. And so if they did miss it, that would be kind of wild. I not being a medical guy, but from what I can tell, it does seem like that as well. And like you said, when you tell us things, that's how we operate. So when you tell us hyperextension, that's how we operate. And so we're kind of wondering, all right, when is this hyperextension going to heal? It is weird because all three of the major sports have different training staffs, different, people that are running these things, different people that are doing some of these tests. Obviously, maybe, if it's like a surgery or something, I'm guessing they all go to UAMS, but the major three sports have all had very huge misdiagnosed injuries in the last 36 months. Like there's been some massive ones. Basketball, I mean, this is an example that it hadn't really been as bad as basketball, but I mean, back-to-back years, the baseball team has misdiagnosed a shoulder injury to a very key player. Football team has misdiagnosed every possible injury you can imagine. It's kind of crazy. And I get it. Like injuries are weird. It's hard to do this kind of thing, but it is kind of wild how common this is becoming in Razorback athletics, that of one of the major sports, there's going to be some type of botched injury situation pretty much every year.
Yeah, and a hyperextension is not really a mechanism to tear a meniscus either. Like a meniscus is like it's like a plant and twist thing. That's why it coincides with an ACL. A lot of times if you tear your ACL, then you have a meniscus tear also. A hyperextension isn't really, it's kind of two different things. And again, like I'm not saying it's impossible, it's just highly unlikely. And maybe it's just the worst freak accident ever, which would make sense with the Razorbacks and their luck. But yeah, I don't know, man. Everything about this is it's just weird. It just doesn't feel right, you know?
It stinks. It stinks is what it does. It stinks to high heavens of nonsense. And I know we've spent a lot of time talking about it, but I think it's important. Like, again, injuries, I've never been a student athlete of that level. So I don't know, as far as your pro prospects, you don't want people finding out this. Like, it happens a lot of cases. It's just been the amount of times it's happened at the U of A. Because I even talked to some friends over at the next round, because they cover Bama and Auburn, and I was asking them just about like how injuries are handled, or has it seemed pretty evident? They're like, it's just kind of as it is, that you're not going to get a full amount. But I was like, but did you ever feel like there was things that were misdiagnosed? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, I feel like there's been 4 or 5 examples in the past year or two here at Arkansas, and so that's another thing is I like to compare it to other places. Is it like this going on everywhere? Doesn't seem like it. Is it because the medical staff is awful at the U of A? Is it because it's doing what they're told to do? I mean, is there some conspiracy going on under this behind the scenes? I don't know. But like you said, Andrew, we only know what we know and what you tell us. And when you tell us things and there's a lot of other stuff that comes out that's contradicting that, suddenly we don't believe anything you say. And it's hard to do that. Because what was it? I was trying to think of the exact example, guys. Maybe you can help me. Wasn't there a football player this past year that was, Sam Pittman said he was hurt, and then they tweeted out, they're like, no, I'm not hurt. Was that a football player?
Braylon Russell.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that. You also had Jalen Braxton. You also had the Kudus injury. Like, there was a couple weird ones.
Yeah, just that. It's just so, I don't know. I'm not saying we have to know the ins and outs of the reports by the second they come out from the MRI. But the second you start being shady with it is the second you lose everyone's trust, and suddenly no one believes anything. And then that's how rumors get out there. That's how people start throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. It just causes a much bigger problem. And that's something they don't need.
And look, we're always hard on the athletic departments anytime any of this is happening, because if they don't tell us stuff, we're kind of hard on them there. But do we all agree we would much rather you be mum is the word and not say anything rather than potentially lie? You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're going to put something official out, we need to at least know that what you're putting out officially is real. Once you say, hey, this guy's having surgery, that needs to be real. You know what I mean? Or this guy's not having surgery. That needs to be real, right? Like if you're going to put out a statement, at least make that statement be accurate.
Yeah. And that's, no, that's exactly right. Because then now what do you do? If, like, let's say that this report is true, that, that his meniscus is torn or whatever. Do you double back and make another statement and say, hey, our team was wrong, but we sent him to real doctors, and it turns out this is what's like? There's no way they're going to do that. No. So I don't know, man.
Yeah. It's very, very sus. Everything about this is very sus, as the kids say, which means suspect for those olds like me.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, just helping out the people. Real quick, a few of your chats, folks, as I know we'll get to some other sentiments, but our guy Trey, which we're looking forward to partnering with our guy Trey, says where my business would love to solve this whole thing. Mobile providers do x-rays and ultrasounds, and we can do red light and PRP treatment. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the equipment or what the U of A or whatever they have, but I do know that they have had a lot of injuries, and the misdiagnosing of them at times, not all of them, but the times that they have it's pretty scary. And and also, I mean, maybe I'm looking too deep into this, guys, but if I'm a potential Razorback or maybe a player that's going to transfer in or thinking about going to Arkansas, that might be something that comes up. I'm like, if I was a coach on almost negative recruitment, he's like, hey, they got all these injuries they're misdiagnosing guys. It's causing problems. Like, I mean, maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but that would definitely, if I was a parent, especially of a kid, like that concerns me if there's been some multiple examples of it.
Yeah. And, and every situation is a little bit different, and you don't hear about these things unless it is a thing, right? Like in most injuries that happen, a guy's hurt, he's out, or he comes back or whatever, and it just kind of is what it is. It's when there's contradictory info that we really start talking about it. But like the Jalen Braxton thing, and maybe, you know, Kudus or whatever, like some of that stuff is, I could see it, like given what the initial diagnosis was and what they say it wound up being or whatever. Like I could see that being way more convoluted than this. This one doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, not at all. Also, a few other chats too, real quick. We were talking about the game itself against South Carolina. I guess we'll just work through those. We'll just get to these chats because I know people probably still, like Jessica says, 14 points at halftime made me pessimist for the remainder of the season. That's terrible and embarrassing. It was. I mean, if you break a record that's a bad record that's been set since 1987, before I was born, yeah, that's pretty bad.
It was as bad as anyone who watched it thought it was, and for anyone who didn't, it was worse than you think it was. I mean, it was brutal, man. It really, truly was a disgusting showing.
Yeah, don't need any more on that. Also, our guy Brandon says Cal does very well at Vandy, and the fact that Vandy doesn't defend well plays right into what Arkansas does offensively.
I like this because we were hearing that he didn't perform very well, I guess, relatively speaking, at South Carolina, and that proved to be true. So I like to hear that. I haven't gone back and looked at like what his record is at Vanderbilt and everything, but they don't defend very well. If they can turn you over and get out in transition, they're super problematic. But I think that they know they don't defend very well, and so they mix things up a lot. When you see a defense that mixes stuff up, a lot of times because they can't guard you mano a mano, and so they'll press you and they'll trap ball screens and throw doubles at you and stuff. He's got to be strong with the ball, and there should be layup opportunities. They don't have a dude over 6'8" in that front court. But here's the problem. Andrew, I know you're going to remember this because we talked about it so much on the post-game show. John, you probably remember because you watched the game. You guys remember when Arkansas played Oakland and they won that game convincingly, but they had those two post players that were like 6'6" and they look like freaking NFL defensive ends. Vanderbilt's got two guys just like that.
They're going to steal a lot.
Yep. Yeah, just body movers and space eaters. They got two guys just like that, and I'm just prepared to see Z getting, butt to, put into his ribs and getting pushed all the way into the bleachers. And it's going to be that kind of stuff. So they can use their length and athleticism, play above the rim. They'll be fine. But if they're getting muscled up, it's going to be problematic. Gray Wolf said layups. Oh no, exactly. Because it'll be physical in there.
Are we going to get a repeat of Saturday's game plan where Jonas Adou will be the featured guy offensively down in the post?
Probably.
I'm like, what's funny is, guys, is I bet on that thing with BetSaracen on who get the double-double, and I didn't do Jonas Adou. Oh, missed my opportunity. Dude had 10 rebounds in the first half. Okay, cool. Anyways, folks, Alumni Hall Friday, be there at noon because we'll be there as well. 3417 North College Avenue. We'll get to some more of your chats and everything. Part of your Arkansas update presented by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. We will go to the phone lines too, because even patiently holding, apparently he's got a story for us. So Trey, you better make it quick because we got a lot to get to. So let's go to Trey and Harrison. What's going on, Trey?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
Kind of a redneck white trash story.
My favorite.
It's quite honestly crazy. It's like I lived a Disney episode here. So my dad works on the road. We were in Memphis, Texas in a trailer park because whenever he live in a trailer while my dad's working. But so I helped some girls try to catch some minnows out of a pond. I got thrown into the pond, okay? They yoinked my hat to try and catch these minnows. And then, they threw me into the pond, and then it turns out they were crazy. One of them had a thing for me. She really had the hot for me. I mean, I can't blame her. I'm pretty good looking myself. But she just went on this absolute tear trying to get me to be her boyfriend, and Jesus Christ, I had to lock myself in. I couldn't go fishing for a while. Me and my buddies, we were fishing one day, and then we got threatened again, being pushed into the pond, but this time she's going to toss my buddies in. The first time I was alone, so. And then I finally escaped that. Yeah, she was back crap crazy, and at one point, as I was riding by, she screamed out, "If we were 18, we'd have your babies immediately." Yeah. John, you think you got crazy stories. I got some stories.
Trey, buddy, that is a story.
Godspeed, my man.
Yeah, and good luck to you. We love you when you call in. But maybe that's one of those things that maybe you just text us or like message us that. You don't mind next time. Keep it on task. You know what we're saying? Keep it on task there.
Sometimes those toxic relationships like that are the hardest ones to get out of. It's just something about them.
Yeah. I've always said that.
Catch the minnows, eh?
Catching minnows with a hat, man.
That was awesome.
I didn't know what to expect, man.
That's how they court folks in Harrison.
That's true.
You steal the man's hat and try and catch some fish.
Lord have mercy. All right. So
Vic said he wanted to unleash his own minnows.
That's
crazy.
We got some good swimmers. Sheesh.
Oh.
Trey, this might be the first time in my broadcasting career where I don't even know what to do now. I don't even know where I'm I got to change things up. Jeez. Okay. Back to your Arkansas update presented by Davis and Garrett Insurance, your Infinite Auto Insurance Agency, securing what matters the most. All right. Razorback basketball, we know tomorrow night, 9 p.m. against Vanderbilt. Yes, that is Central Time, folks. Yes, you will have to, find your way to watch that game late. I don't know if you got to have some energy drinks in you or something like that, but the game's going to be on SEC Network as part of a triple header, because that's what everybody wants on a Tuesday night, is a triple header of some pretty disgusting college basketball. You got Georgia, South Carolina at 5, and then Texas, Mississippi State at 7, and then Arkansas and Vanderbilt at 9. Because guys, 2-hour windows always fit when college basketball goes on. You can always get a game in a 2-hour window. So just be prepared, folks. ESPNU, that's where you're going to have to start watching the game. I'm just giving you the heads up.
I cannot wait for the 9:18 tip off and then the multiple monitor reviews and a close game at the end. We might legitimately be pushing a midnight ending for this one.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. There's no way that game's going to end right at 11 and we'll be done right at midnight. It's going to be at least 11:20 start time, finishing about 12:30.
Yep. Well, at least it's not, you're having to wait on an A&M game. That game's on ESPN against Auburn. So at least that's not one of the triple headers you're going to have to wait on. But so you got that. But also a little Razorback baseball real quick, because I know they got the sweep. Andrew had some really good seats. His face was really out there, and he had the best seats in the house, getting to make sure that he could call the pitches right and everything. But hey, Arkansas gets the sweep. None of the games were exactly easy, but hey, we got to see an immaculate inning, and that's really cool.
Yeah, don't see an immaculate inning much. I saw someone in the chat yesterday said that there's 3 times as many home no-hitters as there are immaculate innings at the professional level. Obviously, maybe college is a little bit different, but you really don't see much. I can't think of the last one I've seen from Arkansas. I know Wicklander missed it by 1, and I think Cops missed it by 1, but you just don't see that much. And for Parker Coyle, who's having just an unreal start to the year, Arkansas really needed him to step up. It was one of those weekends where, obviously Gage Wood's not available for Arkansas right now. You get a really rough start from Gabe Gackle on a Friday, only goes 3 innings. Your closer blows a save on Sunday. And it was very funny watching a lot of Hog fans who were like, why'd they put Christian Fauci in the 9th inning? Why'd they do that? I'm like, I don't know, because he's been the closer all year. We spent the entire offseason talking about him being the closer. He throws 100. He's a top 200 prospect. Like, it made sense to go to Fauci. He just stunk. And so now we have to, in hindsight, be like, why'd you throw Fauci? I don't understand. It's like, okay, just shut up. But it was one of those weekends where just, like you said, it wasn't easy. Arkansas had to fight a lot. And there's a lot of teams that probably wouldn't have been able to overcome all of those circumstances that I just laid out, where your ace gets shelled, your closer sucks, you're down a pitcher. It just wasn't, nothing really went right for Arkansas this weekend, but they find a way to win all 3 games. And I was not expecting the fans to be thrilled about it. We talked about it, how all season, no matter what Arkansas wins, people are going to be like, yeah, but you're going to choke in the postseason. And this was kind of the first real taste of that, where Arkansas goes 4-0 on the week. I thought they played pretty well and swung the bats really well. Arkansas's batting average is now up over 300. Congrats to the Arkansas lineup. But I thought offensively Arkansas, strung together some good at bats against a decent Charlotte pitching staff, because that's what I was worried about coming into the weekend, is that it was going to be a lot of 4-2, 5-3 type of games. Arkansas had to win some shootouts, and so that was good to see. But man, on the stream yesterday, which if you missed that, we did a full weekend recap live version of the Bombastic podcast. People were pissed. They hate every player on the team. They hate the pitching. They hate the hitting. They hate DVH. People do not like this baseball team, is what I've learned this week.
Yeah, well, it's the way it goes. Just give them another time where they'll have some big wins, or they'll sweep LSU or something. They'll be back. They'll be back.
Did you weigh in on the woes?
I hate that. I was sitting in the same section as a lot of that. That it sucks, man. It really sucks.
Yeah.
I was getting tagged in a lot of that. Ric Flair's the man, but I don't know. I feel like we've kind of reached the end of that bit, right?
There's a lot of bits that we've reached the end, and we have extended ourselves as far as possible. All right, that's just one of many. But yes, seeing a 10 inning or 10 run inning, and also immaculate inning, things you don't see very often.
Weekend, yeah.
Oh, it was a great weekend there. Before we continue on, because we got to get the best worst of the weekend, let's go. This guy had an electric call last time he called in, so let's see what he's got today. Let's go to Mike, who's in Dallas. What's up, Mike?
What's going on? How y'all doing?
Doing good, man.
In there.
Yeah, I'm just calling because last week I called and I was talking about beating the Cox and all that, and apparently they didn't understand what I meant by that because they came out there and didn't have any legs, so it makes me question what they were doing in pregame. But basically, I'm just calling the game Tuesday. This last game, it was tough. You don't want to make any excuses, but you play a tough overtime game against Texas, and then you got to travel to South Carolina. You're already down 2 guys. You got a 7-man rotation with nobody to come help. So that is taxing, man, because overtime games are harder. You got to do a lot to get through there. And chasing Trey, not Trey, whatever that guy's name is, the hooper around is tough. But if we can get this game in Vanderbilt, them coming off of overtime, basically the same situation. If we can sneak that win out, no matter how it looks, I'll take it. That game on Saturday in Bud Walton is going to be electric, because the ramifications that come with that game is huge. Everybody's going to know what we need. That support is going to be big. So I'm hoping we can just put it together, and maybe we can get a little luck in there. I'm praying for Adou. Hopefully he comes out some type of healthy out of this. But because it's definitely more important about these kids' health and these wins. But, we just want to see you do good and support them. It's good to see y'all's faces. Andrew, I don't know. It looks like John might be competing with you for his hair, man. He got that hairstyle going. I don't know if that's like Gorilla Glue or something, but it's good. But, yeah, so y'all are doing a great job, bombastic, and the pot and whatever it is you do, John. I don't know, man. But anyway, man, you the backbone. We know what you do, man. You got to wear many hats, man. So it's good seeing y'all, man. Woo Pig Suey, man. I love y'all.
I appreciate it, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, man. Taking strays again. I got my hair for one. I'm getting a haircut this week, so give me a break. All right. And I don't look good in hats. I can't do what Ellis does with the hat. I just don't look good in hats. And yeah, I do things. I do stuff. So
Mike just went up on my favorite callers list.
Yeah.
That was awesome, man. That was awesome. Good. Good points there too. He's always good for a couple good zingers in there on the calls, but no, he's right, man. And it's people automatically get triggered if you mention everything that he just did about the circumstances Arkansas had going into that game. But Cal said it himself afterwards of after that entire month of February, where it was like every game had so much urgency about it. It's hard to just continue night after night after night to get yourself up to play at the level that you have to. And they were probably due a letdown. I was thinking it might be more like the first half that they had against LSU a couple weeks ago, if you guys remember that. And then they figured it out. They just never turned it on in this game. That was crazy. But he's right. If Arkansas is able to scrap one out at Vanderbilt, that home game on Saturday against Mississippi State, that's an NCAA tournament game in your own arena. Like you win, you are a lock. And so I would imagine Bud Walton Arena would be a freaking madhouse, even if it's an early Saturday tip. So hopefully we get that and those guys get to experience it, because I felt like the crowd and the atmosphere kind of helped, drag them across the finish line or whatever against Texas. They'll need that again. And if it's an NCAA tournament bid on the line, I bet Bud's going to be rocking.
Yeah, one last home game. You think that the Razorback fans can get up for this one? I think this might be the worst home slate we've ever experienced in basketball, or at least since I moved up here 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember a home slate for basketball that just didn't have any juice at all. And so you'd like to think the crowd would have one big last hoorah in them, right?
Yeah,
you would think. But I think a lot about this team in this season, and it never actually happens of what I think is going to happen. So
David's cracking me up in the chat right now. He's sick of Elon Musk on John right now.
He says I need 5 bullet points of what I did last week. Need 5 bullet points of what you did last week. Email to us. Yeah, I'll get right on that. I'll put it out there. I have actually thought about when I've talked about the U of A and maybe their financial situations. I think they need to bring in Doge and figure out the efficiencies of what the U of A needs in their spending, because I don't think it's been done very well. So sure, Elon's not doing anything else. Right. And also real quick too, this is not like huge news, but still kind of relative. I'm not stretching it for Arkansas news, but Jimmy Johnson has officially announced his retirement from broadcasting. He's not going to do TV anymore. So you know what he needs to do? He needs to be the GM of Arkansas. Bring him home. Finally. It won't happen because that'd be too good of a thing to do, but just wanted to throw it out there. All right, let's go ahead and we'll get to more of your chats, folks. But let's get to the best and worst of the weekend. Sponsored by a guy, Logan, or SkooooHogs, as he puts it. But always appreciate him and his support, as well as all of your support out there. And there's plenty of things to get into when it comes to what was the best and what, of course, was the worst of the weekend. But I did want to go ahead and start off with my best. I just still wish we could play videos like this, because it really doesn't do it justice to talk about it. But still, that Tennessee-Alabama game was fun. And the way that Tennessee won that at the buzzer beaters are great no matter what. But, the C2 teams that you're kind of invested in because it's the SEC and they're top 10 teams, and both have had some really good wins and all of that to be back and forth. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Alabama was up by like 4 with 30 seconds to go, or so. They were up in that game, but to have it go the way it did and just go right down the court and nail one from the logo, and it was at home, just awesome stuff. I love March. I love college basketball. Buzzer beaters are great, and it was really fun to see that type of matchup, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was really cool, and it was funny how many people confused who took the shot for Tennessee, which was I thought hilarious. Some people were like, "Oh my, Chaz Lanier, oh my god." And then it was the Meshack kid. Did you guys see Rick Barnes during that entire play?
Mm-mm.
As the ball was coming up the court, and he's going nuts trying to get a timeout. Like he was going crazy trying to get a timeout. And there was a point in time where like the ball is in the air, and he's pissed that it happened that way. And he even admitted afterwards, he's like, "No, like I was legit. I didn't like the shot. I was trying to get a timeout, and it didn't happen." So it's one of those no, yes kind of situations, which is hilarious, man. A lot. I mean, it's been crazy. The buzzer beater stuff that we've been seeing. It's March, man. You get closer to that month, and crazy things happen. So Michigan State had one. Michigan had one. We saw this in the Alabama-Tennessee game. That was crazy. Vanderbilt, it wasn't a direct buzzer beater, but Missouri did the "we're not fouling up" 3 thing, and the Tyra Nickel kid hit the 3 with like 2 seconds left to force overtime. Big time shot makers, man. It's been kind of crazy.
Curtis, did you see that? So John Rothstein, of course, was going crazy about his "you always foul up 3." And then Doug Gottlieb tweeted at him and was like, "I fouled up 3 the other day and we still ended up losing. It doesn't always work." And it's like, brother, might maybe sit this one out when it comes to what decisions you should make as a coach, Doug Gottlieb. But we're also in that time of year now. This week, we will likely see seasons ended by buzzer beaters. We are now in that territory where we're going to see some crying children, and we're going to see some jubilation.
Yes. Oh, yes, we absolutely are. I mean, and honestly, it's a best of the weekend for me would be like Porter Moser and Rodney Terry and Fred Hoiberg over at Nebraska. Because as bad as that was for Arkansas on Saturday, a little bit of the sting was taken off of it, because a lot of those teams in the bubble took really tough losses too. Oklahoma had a chance against Ole Miss. They lost that one. I mean, you've got 4 wins in your league. Like, you're not going to get into the tournament if you don't rectify that. Huge missed opportunity. I mean, Texas, what are they doing? Like, they got blown out at South Carolina also, and then they dropped the game at Arkansas, and then they just get pieced up by Georgia at home. That dude's like, he's going to be coaching. He's going to be an assistant coach at some mid-major next year. It's like they're capsizing. Nebraska was in a good spot. They took a worse loss than Arkansas did. Like, the last place team in their league came into their building and beat them in Minnesota. So that stuff was all beneficial for Arkansas, because if those games gone the other way, we'd probably be looking at Arkansas on the outside looking in.
Have we maybe gotten to the point? I'll get to my best in a second, but have we gotten to the point where it's like almost guaranteed that a 6-12 SEC team will make the tournament just because process of elimination? Like, if Arkansas loses out, they would have a chance. They would be in that mix. Texas, if they end up getting it 6 wins, would be around there. Georgia could end up around 6 wins. Oklahoma could, and like, not all of these teams are going to miss the tournament, right?
You wouldn't think.
But
you wouldn't think. But like, I mean, hell, Oklahoma's got 4 right now, and some people are still projecting them in. So if they win 2 this week, yeah, they're probably a lock at 6-12, which is absurd. But
Yeah.
Sorry, I want to bring this up real quick. BJ Young says Hogs national champions. BJ Young said it first. So
we will give you full credit for that.
We will. We will.
On our post-game stream of the national title in San Antonio, when we're on the riverboat, we will be like, hey, shout out to BJ Young. He called it before anyone else. We will hang a banner in our non-existent studios that said BJ Young called it. National champions, Arkansas 2025. BJ, do they win out this week? Do they win both of these games? Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, just 2-0, go into Nashville cruising? Because that's, I feel like if you're going to go on a run in March, you really need to win both of these games so that you can go into next week and just hang out. So you guys know I've showed videos on this program of 2 of my nephews and their sports conquests. And they're and they conquest all sports. I mean, football, basketball, baseball. I think they maybe even play a little bit of soccer. We've done some archery here and there. We got good athletic genes. I have not given their sister, who's in the middle of the 2 boys, Riley, a shout out, but she might be the best athlete. She's probably the best overall kid in the family, frankly. But the boys have their fragile egos. I've got to pump them up a little bit. But I don't give their sister Riley, who's really a great kid overall. She's been playing softball here lately, and she was very nervous going into this game she had a couple days ago because they were facing what I'm told is the Jenny Finch of their district. It's just the nastiest pitcher they've got in the Louisiana school district. And here's how the at-bat went for old Riley. Get over here. Absolute nuke. Didn't go over the fence. And she ends up darting around the bases. Ends up being a home run all the same. It was fired up. Big time stuff.
Stand up inside the park home run. That's what I'm talking about.
Don't see that every day. And it was also, I don't know what was going on in that outfield, but I don't think they were prepared for how hard that ball was hit.
I just love the fact that Inside Arkansas Live on occasion has become the huddle page for Andrew Ellis's relatives.
Someone could clip them all up together and just be like Andrew's family highlights. Every now and then they'll pop up in the chat. The Ladner fam, that's them. They've got their own YouTube channel now. They're trying to take over my territory.
That's fair. That's fair. Also, real quick, our guy Quinn with the super chat. Appreciate you, man. He says best of weekend for him was the Auburn sports weekend. Almost all their teams won this weekend. Worst of the weekend though was friggin' ABC having issues midway through the second half. So,
what happened with that? Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I just read about it. I didn't see it, but I heard that they were like saying that something caught fire or something was a generator messed up or something in the truck. I don't know, but
so Auburn, Kentucky was not. Did they pause the game or was it just not broadcast for a period of time? That's what I didn't understand.
I don't think it was broadcasted. I didn't. I'd have to go back and double check, but yeah, pretty tough look there. Tough look for the people over there at the mothership.
If your team wins a game and nobody was able to stream it, did it really happen?
That is the truth. It is a good point. Also, okay, so I'll move on to worst of the weekend. I have a couple of them. One of these I was going to play the video, but I'm not going to give it justice. But my first one real quick was the Texas A&M baseball player. Texas A&M baseball have had a struggle. I know they were number one and whatnot. And they've been losing some games. Fourth game of the season they've already lost to, and they lost to Oklahoma State. And they've lost 4 in a row and losing to Cal Poly and Texas State and whatever. But one of their players went out on Twitter and Instagram and was going after the fans and saying, like, some of the things I'm seeing on Instagram and X are just absolutely disgusting and ridiculous. Well, I understand that we're not playing to the best of our abilities, but the level of hate and disrespect being thrown around is completely unacceptable and out of line. At the end of the day, we're all human, and no one is more frustrated than we are. We are working every day to be better, and that is not helping at all. No one has any idea what we're going through. This doesn't go for the baseball team. It goes forever. Support it well. Let's go back to being Aggie fans and acting instead of acting like opposing teams fans. Let's do better. Giggle. Here's my thing. If there's anything that was actually said that was like disgusting and terrible, like, okay, I'm not talking about that. But my man, this is SEC baseball. You have fans. These are what fans do. If you can't handle that, then you're in the wrong sport. You need to get off social media or something like that. But a lot of times I will side with players or coaches or whoever if they're saying, hey, this can't happen, because a lot of times it shouldn't. It doesn't make it right, but it does. But this is the type of stuff where I'm like, man, you're the number one team and you're losing bad games. And yeah, people are going to be pissed. It's sports. It's just in general. And so that's just really frustrates me. That's my biggest one. Is just players and anybody that does that where they're like, hey, let's just be fans of us. No, you need to play better, because that's what makes people fans is when you win. And when you have an expectation, you got to hold that expectation. If you don't, people are going to be pissed. It's just the way it is, and it's the way it works. So it just drives me crazy when players do that.
Yeah, there's a line that I just don't think you cross, and I don't give a shit about NIL. So if it's about critiquing play and everything like that, and hey, you suck, hey, be better, yeah, sure, have thick skin. But like Zeke Mayo from Kansas that posed all the screenshots after going 1-7 and lost Texas Tech, they were telling him to go kill himself and throwing racial slurs and everything. Like, that's the line, right? It's
for sure.
I'm all on board with the, because like I get it. You're not living up to expectations. You suck, play better. All that stuff. Like if you want to trash somebody on social media for not playing well and talk about their game, fine. But and so yeah, from that standpoint, I'm on it. But the other stuff, there are people that go too far.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the stuff that needs to stop. But I think you also got to understand that it's a lot of times it's that vocal minority, man. And,
it is.
And those people who are doing that, it's tough because it impacts you. It hits you hard. And it sucks to have to give it attention. But like the thing at Kansas, he put it out there and obviously he attached screenshots to it. And some of that stuff was really nasty, man. It was to the point where Bill Self had to release a statement and everything. That's a mess, man. That's an absolute mess.
Yeah. And it's always real quick about like, again, I'm all for exposing real people because there's so many troll accounts out there that are just trolls that you never know. But if they're real people that you know, then yeah, expose them. Like that former Kentucky baseball player that DM'd me and was going nuts on me. I was like, okay, I'm going to show people how you're acting. Like that's what I'm all about, is exposing people like that. But also people are just terrible. There's terrible human beings out there that do terrible things. And as you say, Curtis, it could be a vocal minority. Because I think we experienced, I know I did, with the Kentucky fans, because we had I got all that hate for that week or two, but then we get to Lexington, and overall, people were really nice. So sometimes it's just that way.
Yeah. It's rare. That's the problem, is that you only hear from the bad fans. Like it's rare that a fan who just has a general appreciation for the university and likes all the players, they don't randomly just tweet out positive stuff all the time, although there are plenty of people that are spreading positivity, but in these moments where like if you're A&M and you've lost 3 straight games and you're the number 1 team in the country, all you're seeing are the worst possible fans in the world. Like those are the only ones talking during those moments, and so it does suck. And really it's just I think with baseball in general, there's not a person, whether you're a fan of a college team, a big league team, whatever, nobody feels really comfortable with their baseball team. Nobody feels fuzzy feelings about their baseball team until they literally win the title. Like that's just kind of how it is. I mean, Curtis, if we have to talk Cardinals baseball with you right now, like it's just not going to be a good conversation. Everyone has that kind of like love-hate relationship with their baseball team. And it is kind of just weird how many like people go out of their way to highlight the negativity. Cause like, look, all the time when I'm watching Arkansas baseball or whatever, there's players that suck. And I think to myself, man, this guy sucks, but I don't tweet it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to put that out there, but people really like to like showcase negativity a lot. And people really don't do the same. It's not that much for, there's a lot more just normal fans who don't say anything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if we have any conversations about St. Louis, Andrew, it's not going to be a pleasant one with me at the moment. My worst of the weekend is St. Louis, the place that I called home for a long time, but there is no reason for anyone to ever go within the city limits of St. Louis. You want to get out in St. Charles, you want to get out in the county or whatever, that's fine. Be careful if you're in the city limits there. It's become a lawless war zone over there. It really has. And it's a shame to see what it's become. And people don't feel safe down there. And, like it's been on social media and everything, but, Michelle and I were there. She was working at a college there in the city, right by Forest Park, which is like the zoo and the art museum and, all kinds of stuff down there for families and everything. But we were at a hotel and our car got broken into. Somebody knocked out the driver's side window and then just didn't steal anything, just ransacked the entire car. And we were one of at least 30 vehicles in that garage that got hit overnight. I mean, people were just in there, just busting glass and throwing stuff all over the place. And it's like, why would you do that? There's no reason to do that. It's really a shame. And what gets me worse than any of it is like, whatever, we had to, strap up a bunch of tarp onto the windshield or onto the window and make our way home. And it's whatever, we'll get it replaced. But the parking garage that we were at was attached to Barnes Jewish Hospital. So a lot of people were there visiting, dying relatives or family members with cancer or whatever. And then they walk back out and they're without, a window, and maybe some of their belongings were stolen. Their stuff is trashed and all over the place. It's sick. It's disgusting. People shouldn't do it. And there's no deterrent for doing it, because there are times where there are no active on-duty police officers in the city at St. Louis. There are shifts where that's just the case now. It's almost like they've defunded the police down there, and it's become such commonplace that they don't care and they can't do anything about it. And it's rough, because there used to be nothing better than being able to be down there in Forest Park hanging out or going to a game at Busch Stadium. You go to a Cardinals game at Busch Stadium, unless you want to pay $50 to park right next door, you're worried about something happening to your vehicle the entire time you're there. Just a mess, man. And I hate it because it's a city that I've always loved, but it's just becoming a disaster over there.
Yeah, I hate that, man, because I know it's like you told us about it. It's just like, geez, I feel like our travel always is, up in jeopardy of stuff. But yeah, that's the type of thing where, I'm glad nothing was taken, but obviously it just is it's so stupid. And the fact that it's just allowed, and they're probably never going to find who did it, because it's just that's how it is. And it's just unfortunate. I've always felt that very strong on punishments for stuff like that, especially. But yeah, I hate that. I've been to St. Louis a few times, and I've enjoyed when I've gone. I haven't gone in a long time, but yeah, definitely one of, I'm sure, a lot of cities that are that way. And it's just sad and it sucks.
Love it there. It's, and it's still home in a lot of ways, but it's crazy how quickly it's changed, because I worked in East St. Louis, which is worse, for a decade, man. And I never felt unsafe, and I never felt unwelcome, anything like that. I mean, we would be in the city all the time, family, friends, whatever. It sucks how quickly it's kind of gone off the rails, man. Hate it. And I hope they can figure out a way to clean it up and get it right there. But it's in dire straits right now, man. It sucks.
Well, I'll do this real quick, Andrew. We'll get you worse. We do at least have our guy Chestnut on the case. He's trying to find who is the motive and what's going on there for some levity in the situation. So the suspect motive. Yes, just so much going on here, folks. But apparently he's got Matt Jones of KY Jelly Sports Radio, Richie Snow, Otis Kirk. You got Razorback Hobbs, intern Reagan made the list, producer End of the Bench, Key McPherson, just ball burner, Eli Drinkwitch, and his cousin Gary. So we got some people.
You gotta check on Gary Chestnut.
Yeah, we've been working hard and doing our due diligence on the case. We have narrowed it down to Drink, intern Reagan, and Gary. Those are the final three prime suspects that we're looking at here. So
had some weird vibes the other day. I saw her at the game, and she had some mischievous vibes to her. I'm just
she probably knows we're on to her. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So if you know of anything, let us know, and we'll take care of it, and we'll send it over to Chestnut. So, all right, Andrew, what about you, worst of the weekend?
I don't have much in this category. Like, honestly, like, things are going pretty well for the A train, not much bad going on. Did y'all happen to watch the Oscars any?
I didn't see any of it. Actually,
I didn't watch much of it. It was a rough year for Oscars. And I love movies. Like I go to the movies a lot. I try to watch with the Oscars. I'll try and watch most of the films that are like nominated for stuff, at least like Best Picture or like if there's a Best Actor or something like that. A little bit of just a weak year from the Oscars overall, and I'm a guy who's like, it's not even more about the critics, like the films, like the films that the critics love and all that. I like just the blockbusters, that make a ton of money. Wasn't a ton of that either. Like there weren't a ton of Marvel movies that came out this year. No Star Wars. There wasn't all the nerd stuff. We're back on the nerd stuff though. The nerds are going to be up in 2025, but I was a little disappointed in just like how, like looking at all the stuff that was nominated, I was like, damn, what a bad year for movies it was. And contrary to like the narrative of like, oh, there's just no good movies anymore. Most years I really don't feel that way. Like last year, I was super tapped in on the Oscars. I was all in because I like a lot of those movies I thought were good. This year is a little bit of just a boring year for the Oscars. So I don't have anything to report from that. My other worst of the weekend is any pitching staff that has to face Arkansas softball. You want to know who's playing some gorilla ball is Bree Ellis and Courtney Deifel and that crew. They are top 3 in the nation in scoring. They are top 3 in slugging. They're top 10 in home runs, top 10 in batting average. I think I saw earlier that 15 of their wins this year have been by run rule. Yep. And I think they've only lost once. I think they're 19-1 or something like that. And almost every win has been a run rule. I mean, they're just whipping ass, man. They've got some big games coming up. So they're about to start SEC play this week. They're going to Oxford to play Ole Miss. And then next week, Arkansas baseball goes to Oxford. So got a couple bouts with the Rebels. But then next week, while the baseball team's in Oxford, Oklahoma will be in Bogle for a 3-game series. That place is going to be jumping. Like, it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Hopefully the weather's good. But Arkansas softball's, this might be their best team that they've had. And that's saying a lot because they've been pretty good here lately. They're a lot of fun to watch. That Oklahoma series is going to be a big chance for them to kind of announce themselves nationally and be like, hey, we just whipped Oklahoma's ass. They're like the standard in college softball. So let's see what we're about.
Yep. Yeah, they've been killing it too. And so what is the softball World Series? Does it coincide with the baseball World Series, or is it like a different time?
I don't think it does. I think it coincides with the NCAA, like maybe the first round, like the regional kind of coincides. Because you remember that was the thing whenever we were in Stillwater. They were like, oh, well, we're in OKC for that. I think it's in like mid to late May.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, because that would be fun. And it's like, I mean, they've done a really great job of getting the softball program rejuvenated, because before Courtney Deifel arrived, it was awful. So they've been killing it. And so hopefully they can continue to have the success that they are. And yeah, run ruling a bunch of opponents like that is always a good time. Always good for that. So
the next step, man, is them getting to OKC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've had some really awesome regular seasons and everything. And, a couple postseasons that might not have gone the way they wanted to, or tough draws or whatever. This got to be the year, man. Get there.
Yep.
Get that national seed too. That'd be sick if they could clinch that in Bogle. Because I think they've been a national seed at least once under Courtney Deifel, maybe twice. Yeah, they've had a lot of home regionals, but it'd be sick if they could get that national seed, and then people could watch that, because those atmospheres in Bogle for the postseason would be crazy too.
Yeah,
I want to give credit, by the way, because we as much as we made fun of basketball and all that, the baseball crowds have been really good. In basketball, we've shown we know that they can get up there. And of course, I think there's a decent amount that traveled to MSG or whatever. But just no matter where you go, there's good crowds.
Oh yeah, there's good. And that's another real quick worst of the weekend, and then we'll move on. Is I went to the gymnastics meet again on Friday night. I was trying to make it 3 in a row that I've went to, and they won. It's unfortunate because Arkansas lost to Alabama, but they posted their season high score. So it's just like, man,
went up in the rankings.
Yeah, like just crazy. It's weird how that happens, but. They also robbed Roberson of a perfect 10. She had a 10. Everybody was chanting 10. It looked like a 10. One judge gave her a 10. The other one gave her like a 9.75. It's just like, you little jerk. I wanted to see a 10, but still, a lot of good things going on over there. And gymnastics keep going, and softball I know keeps going. And spring weather's getting nicer, folks, which is great. So hopefully it continues this way for sure. All right, so we'll get into here in our final segment, just kind of going through some chats and some other random storylines presented by BetSaracen. Appreciate BetSaracen and their partnership with us. You can download the app on iPhone or on Android. You go to BetSaracen.com. and get the betting that way. Always specials for Razorback sports, and that includes Razorback softball, baseball, basketball, every sport out there. So download the app today. It's the BetSaracen app. A few chats here real quick. Our guy Quinn Thomas, man, he, of course, residential Auburn fan, says, I'm glad Auburn is pretty transparent with injuries. Well, yeah, it must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice.
Some coaches are like that, man. They'll, you know.
They had Janiah Broom go down, and it was like very, like, not a bunch of controversy. It was just like, hey, he's gonna be out. He'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll let you know when he's back.
Right.
Yep. Also, Quinn says, I have a friend who went to grad school at Wash U. I was always worried about her. Luckily, nothing ever happened to her.
It's basically pretty much where we were. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, it's crazy. Also, Quinn said the ABC generator caught on fire and just wasn't being broadcasted. Fans start streaming on social media.
Good. Yeah. Okay. ESPN Pinto or whatever situation there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sure they got shut down too. Also, BJ Young says, BJ Young from Ferguson, he the crime stopper.
No, I mean, yeah, I started that because it's crazy because I talked about how weird it was that it changed so quickly. I spent so many nights at McClure North just going there to watch BJ Young play. And I never felt out of place or never walked out and had a, glass shattered or anything like that. In all the schools, we used to recruit down there and everything all the time. And there, like any city, there are areas that are really bad and you want to avoid. And that's just kind of the way it works. But certain places right there, it just like, I don't know, like it used to feel like certain places were off limits. Like you're by the freaking zoo, it's off limits. You're by Busch Stadium, baseball heaven. It's off limits. Yeah, but it's just not anymore, man. It's not.
Also, Heartbroken Hog, appreciate it. Says, Ellis, are you excited for Andor season 2? To me, it's the best show or movie to come through the Disney era.
I'm very excited for Andor season 2, April 22nd. That will 100% be on my best of the weekend when we get into the months of April and May. Andor is some good stuff, dude. And it's one of those ones. It's one of the like least childlike Star Wars properties. It takes itself seriously, and like they've been marketing season 2 with all these like critic quotes and stuff, being like, "Hey, this is the good one. This is the one that people actually like." But I like that. No, Andor's some good stuff, man. Great cast, just pure cinema.
Let's see. Also, John Sullivan says, "Can we please stop doing the ball 5 thing like we are A&M?" Here's my thought. Yes, it should stop. But also, number 2, if you insist on doing it, do it at ball 5. There's idiots that are like, after 3 straight balls, are like, ball 4. But guess what happens almost always from a pitcher if he's thrown 3 straight balls and it's a 3-0 count? He's going to throw a strike. So if you're going to do it then, but just don't do it at all. We could do that. Yeah.
They also will they'll like play Wild Thing for like any wild pitch sometimes. And I love Wild Thing when it's like, sometimes they'll play it in the right spot where a guy's walked a couple guys, he hits a guy, and it's like he's really starting to lose it. It'll literally just be like 1 out, runner on first, ball gets to the backstop, and they're like, wow, dang. And I'm like, okay, relax. He's just going to come back with 3 straight strikes. I agree. I also, it's okay to let other teams have their things. Like A&M, and I think A&M and TCU both do it, weirdly enough. Let them have their thing. It is a cool thing. Yeah, I'm sure it would be nice when the guy walks someone on 4 straight pitches and then he throws a 5th one. I'm sure it would be pretty fun, but it's like, that's not our thing. Don't try and make it our thing. We also don't have to do the home of the Stars thing. We don't have to do the home of the Chiefs thing. Let other teams have their things. Arkansas baseball has enough cool stuff. We got the beer hats, we got the hog pen, got all kinds of great stuff. Just embrace what you have. Don't try to be someone else. And the year of 2025 is not the year to implement the Ric Flair stuff. It's just not. Like we've had our fun. It's all good.
I was seeing so much discourse on social media about that. I was getting tagged in a bunch of stuff, and like after our show on Friday, I went over and was visiting the parents and stuff. I didn't get to watch any of the game on Friday. I just saw they were down however much, and then had the big inning and everything, and then I'm just getting bombarded, I felt like, for the rest of the weekend about these woos.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what I thought about it. And I've never been a fan of it. So
my brother who went to the game, it was his birthday weekend. So I got him hooked up for the game, and he was asking me yesterday, he's like, is that a thing that they started doing? I was like, started.
They started for a while. They play it in the like over the PA too. They'll play it a little bit.
Yeah. Just gotta relax, man. Just relax with stuff like that.
Somebody said it was worse than the Vandy Whistler.
I did see that one.
It's not worse than the Vandy Whistler, but it's bad.
Nothing's worse than the Vandy
Camo
Whistler.
Gang says they've done that for years. So the Ric Flair, like Ric Flair one has been, I mean, Ric Flair was a wrestler back in like the freaking 70s. He's been around for a while, and people have kind of always done that, but it became a thing about 10 years ago to do the 2 claps in a Ric Flair. You remember that was a thing? And that's where I'm like, let it die at some point. Like Ric Flair himself is about to die. When he dies, can we call it a day?
I just don't understand beating dead horses like they do with these traditions and stuff. It's like, just move on.
As hell is what it is.
Yeah, just move on. Let's see. Also, Gage says, have you guys talked about the Bud Walton Arena changes yet? We may have to save that for tomorrow, knowing a little bit more of what's going on, what's being talked about and discussed, because I think that's a pretty fascinating thing. And if you're not sure what we're referring to, of course, we know that there are changes that are going to be coming to Bud Walton Arena, but there's been somebody who has had some discussions with people who are in the know of what those changes are going to look like. So we may have to save that for one for tomorrow, because there's a lot to unpack from it, and also it's pretty new. Yeah,
for sure. A lot of kind of what we already suspected by just reading the tea leaves on some of the announcements and everything, but some interesting stuff about the student section moving forward that we need some more clarity on before we really get into that, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and we talked about the updated like seating chart and how they're redoing. They're basically starting from scratch on foundation donations and season tickets and all that. We talked about that when that official announcement came out. It looks like we're going to have more to discuss, but some of our fears back then when we talked about it, which was weirdly enough, we talked about it in Lexington. Some of our fears do seem to be coming to fruition a little bit, I would say.
Yes.
I think people are starting to really understand, wait a minute, I have to double my donation in June and I won't find out where I sit or if I even have a seat until August. Like, what the hell? People are starting to, now that people are starting to have to do it, they're like, wait a minute, this sucks.
Yep. But don't worry, you're guaranteed a seat in the building somewhere, according to what Juracek last time we heard from him.
An opportunity for a seat.
Yes, an opportunity for a potential seat that could be inside somewhere at the arena. But no, just nonsense. Also, I just started this one because it just made me laugh. I don't know what the context was. He says, I blame Jeff Long for the Razorback font on the jerseys. Hopefully they refresh unis next year like the baseball team did. Okay.
Yeah, I think basketball is the only uni. I'm sure there's some other, like maybe track or something, but basketball is the only uniform that I see regularly that still has the Razor's Edge font.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I haven't been a huge fan of the Razorback basketball jerseys this year overall, but it's the jerseys are always better if you win in them, and that's kind of what you got to remember, folks. Everyone's like, I love those jerseys from back then. Okay, did you love them because of what they looked, or did you love them just because you won? No, like I always laughed about that with football when they decided to come back with the Darren McFadden era jerseys. Like, those are the best looking ones. I'm like, yeah, because they won. Like that Darren McFadden wearing it. Like this, yeah, that makes it all that much better. Same with the '94 national championship jerseys. It's like, did you love them because they look good? You love them because you won in them. It's because you won in them. All right, and then let's see a few other chats here too. Oh yeah, like this from Hickory Hart. Start of the show. He's like, they'll have us all reeled back in by Friday. Somehow this team just disappoints to make the highs higher. If the Final Four run is going to be crazy. Well, I don't know about that, but it'd be cool. It'd be really cool, if they wanted to make the Final Four run there too. So
joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain.
It's true. Pain is weakness leaving the body, or so I hear. Also, real quick, guys, did you guys ever use Skpye?
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, Skpye is coming to an end in May 2025. Yeah. You talk about a company and a thing that dropped the ball. Like they were like the first one to do the video conferencing thing.
Yeah.
And when the pandemic hit and all that, everything went to video conferencing. They were nowhere to be found. Everyone was on Zoom. And it's just how are you the first and most popular, but yet no one started using you during that stretch, and now they're going to officially end. So,
well, then once FaceTiming on like Apple phones became a thing, it was like once the big dogs learned how to do it, you're out of luck. But shout out to Skpye. They were visionaries. Changed the game for military communication between families. You got your pops overseas or whatever. Skpye probably is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts.
Absolutely. And finally here, C-Lane just says, quick shout out to my amazing guy, David, for grabbing us tickets to tomorrow's game against Vandy, my first college basketball game, and I get to be there to support the Razorbacks. Woo pig suey. Huh? There you go. Enjoy that, man.
That is awesome.
Cool.
We appreciate David in the chat.
You're the main,
Yeah.
David.
Yeah, hopefully it actually ends up being a good one for your first one. So late night, though. Late night. So be sure to be ready for that one. All right. Well, guys, any final thoughts before we roll out of here for the day?
No, not too much. Take a little bit of time if you get it this afternoon, this evening. Check out the Pod of the Palace today. We had 2 episodes, a lot going on. Literally everything you need to know about this team leading into March Madness. A lot of good info. I think a lot of people on Saturday, whether it was during the watch party or the post game, were saying, "Curtis, make me feel better. Like, give us some good news. Give us something." I tried my best. Okay, I tried my best today. So go give it a listen. See if you feel better. And also, and we need to talk about this. Watch parties might be dead.
Yeah,
it might be over. I enjoy it. It's fun. Maybe we need to poll the audience here, but I don't know if we need to do this tomorrow or not.
I'm not saying we need to do it tomorrow. However, I would like to see if a night game makes it a little bit better.
I know, because I would love to do it during the SEC tournament, like the midday randomness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it would be a blast, and I think it would go well. But we can't be the jinx. Like, is it the morning thing, or is it so maybe we do it for Vanderbilt? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll decide after the show, but
yeah, do a little test run.
I mean, I think if they have an SEC tournament game that's during the day like they did last year, John, you remember we watched that South Carolina game together at like 10 a.m. or whatever the hell it was. We should probably do it. Ideally, they would take care of business this week to where those games in Nashville have no stress around them. We're just kicking and hanging out. Oh yeah, who cares what happens in this game? But yeah, I am definitely. I was saddened by how poorly this past weekend's watch party went. And speaking of watch parties, I had an epiphany this weekend. Midweek baseball games are the worst possible watch parties because nobody's watching the game. You know what I mean? Like people, I've been doing game recaps for weekend games and then like a watch party in midweeks. Nobody watches the midweeks. That's when they need the game recaps. Yeah. So I'm altering it. I might get bored Wednesday and do a watch party just for the hell of it. Because Arkansas has 2 midweek games this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Obviously tomorrow night, basketball starts at 9. Baseball starts at 3. So there's not going to be any overlap. I'm just going to do a video recap for anybody that cares. Do a video recap for the baseball game, which will go out at, ideally 6:00, somewhere around then. You'll have plenty of time to watch it before the basketball game. Wednesday, probably going to do the same thing, but every Sunday or every game 3 for the rest of the year, baseball, I am planning on doing a watch party of some variety, whether that's or it's going to be some type of live stream show, whether it's a recap or if it's the final 3 innings, or if it's, I think this upcoming Sunday, I'm probably just going to do the full game. But so be on the lookout for those. Those are going to be fun. But tomorrow, not doing a watch party for midweek, just going to recap it so you guys don't have to watch the game.
Yeah, and for me, I don't do anything, so don't watch any of my stuff. Like Michael said, there's whatever it is I do. But no, be sure to tune in and check it out, folks, because again, we're got the overlap of Razorback basketball and baseball and everything going on here at Inside Arkansas Live. A lot of big things on the horizon for us, especially now it's the month of March. So spring is in the air, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So be sure to tap in with us each and every day right here at Inside Arkansas by subscribing to us on Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page. You can also check it out wherever podcasts are found, whether it's Inside Arkansas Live, Pod at the Palace, or the Bombastic Podcast. You can check it out that way too. Our website at InsideArkansas.com for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information, all things Hogs, and our social media at Inside Arkansas. So that'll do it for us today. For Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you then.